Your balance is $1,247. You check it at 11:43 p.m., lying on a mattress you bought secondhand. You have $31,000 in student loans, $4,200 on a credit card, and a direct deposit hitting Friday that is already spent. Every single grocery run is a calculation. You put the olive oil back on the shelf and grab the store brand. There is a constant hum of arithmetic running underneath everything you do. You move $200 to savings, then move it back 3 days later. Because you are essentially suffocating, every financial choice is a reaction to immediate stress. This is where the first rule takes hold. Your relationship with money is entirely emotional, and emotional decisions compound in the wrong direction. You get a $6,000 raise. After taxes, it's an extra $387 a month. You feel a brief surge of relief until the car needs $900 in brake pads. Expenses expand to meet whatever space you make for them. You pay off a small $1,200 credit card and screenshot the zero balance, but you send it to no one because nobody else would understand why that number moving matters so much. You are doing everything right, maxing the 401k, avoiding lifestyle inflation. But when you run the projections for 40 years of disciplined saving at your current income, the number at the end doesn't match the life you want. You realize that a corporate salary is a ceiling dressed up as a floor. At age 26, you hit $10,000 in savings. You've never had 5 figures before. You check the balance out of disbelief. You don't do anything with it. You just let it sit there. The psychological weight of that $10,000 is disproportionate to the number itself. You feel like you've crossed into a different category of person. You start reading about how money actually moves. You open a brokerage account and stare at it for weeks before investing $1,500. When the market dips the next day, you resist the urge to pull out. You stop thinking about money as a safety net and start seeing it as information. Escaping this state requires moving past the arithmetic of survival. You stop managing your anxiety and start managing the mathematical formula of your life. You start a side project on weekends. It makes $400 a month, then $900. You reinvest everything for 14 months, eating the same lunches and driving the same car. You begin to feel the gap between where you are and where a salary alone would have taken you. That gap is where the leverage lives. You have a physical understanding of an asset now. It's a machine you built or bought that earns while you sleep. Your relationship with time changes. Every hour spent on something that doesn't compound is an hour the machine isn't running. This illustrates the third rule. Below $500,000, you are still the one buying the assets. Above that threshold, the yield automatically pools, purchasing other assets. Capital acquires its own momentum. This self-buying mechanism scales the portfolio without your daily presence. The machine runs on its own logic, compounding whether you are in the office or asleep. True wealth leverage exists exclusively in this space, where the stagnant ceiling of a salary is replaced by compounding, autonomous assets. You reach the $1 million milestone on a random Tuesday. A $1 million portfolio at a 4% return provides $40,000 a year. This is the proof of concept. The milestone proves the system works, but it represents the starting point of the next phase. At $5 million, the focus shifts to Rule 4. Wealth is measured by what you no longer have to do. You are no longer working for capital, you are positioning it. You enter 2 separate deals. One is a high volatility trade with an $800,000 potential return. The other risks nothing and offers low yield. You take both because their correlation zeroes out your portfolio's total risk. This structure buys untethered time. You take a 3-week trip and ignore email for 5 days because your capital is positioned to protect itself. At this level, the goal is not to win every hand. It is to construct a framework that allows you to stay in the game longer than everyone else at the table. Social friction develops. You start saying no to destination weddings you can't justify liquidating assets for, or group holidays where you'd end up subsidizing everyone else. You stop spending money to maintain relationships and start protecting capital to build options. Rule 5 takes effect. Your reputation becomes a financial instrument. You are invited to the table not as a courtesy, but because your capital and pattern recognition are useful to private equity firms. Your name alone starts earning returns. A company you've invested in lays off 140 people. You've had dinner with the CFO, but you don't call him. You watch the margin profile improve and your position increase in value. You feel the distance that has grown between your decisions and their human consequences. As net worth scales, the gap between a financial choice and its impact on the ground widens. This detachment is a requirement of operating at this scale. Your net worth is $94 million. You have moved past quarters and years to think in demographic and infrastructure cycles. You position capital ahead of these macro shifts, the same way a sailor reads the weather 3 days out. Above $50 million, Rule 6 states that money stops measuring individual worth and starts measuring systemic reach. You have structures in place, trusts and foundations that will outlive you. In a boardroom, you speak for 4 minutes and ask 2 questions. The room moves around those questions because of the capital you represent. There is no spectacle or volume, just a room that calibrates to your position. This altitude creates a specific kind of isolation. Your reality, the fund structures, the regulatory positioning, simply doesn't translate to anyone who knew you before. You are not a different person, but your context has become untranslatable. Somewhere, a 24-year-old is checking his banking app. His balance is $1,247. He puts the good coffee back and thinks this is a story about making more money so his problems will resolve. He doesn't yet see the cost. It isn't measured in dollars, but in the distance that opens between who you are at the beginning and who you become to reach the end. The money compounds, and so does the gap.